government's budget was established with a long-term outlook in mind. It was created with a focus on indirect cost reduction and an emphasis on sustainable yet conscientious investment into the future of New South Wales. On that note, we would like to shine a light on the centrepiece and focal point of all the bills that were presented to the Treasury, the Housing Reformation Bill. Now, much has been made of the Housing Bill. We share the sentiments of some members in this chamber and have explored concerns of the initial $2.42 billion in outlays, as well as the potential inflation of real estate as a result of the mechanisms that are set in place, including the 1:5 public-to-private housing ratio imposed on localities. It is a hefty bill, we acknowledge this, and it will be costly on the public expense. But, Mr. Speaker, it is a thorough bill with a consideration for a long-term investment into our future. The Housing Bill will refurbish homes across the state with ecologically and economically sustainable technologies, imputing a reduction in the expenditure on electricity, on irrigation, and shelter maintenance for the state. The inclusion of support centres provides savings through the services sector, as employing specialised psychologists and legal professionals now, rather than later, are a fraction of the cost of damages to the state, to property, and to life that could be incurred by the spread of homelessness that would still be at the public expense if these support centres and support services were not in place now. This bill, the Housing Bill, provides savings on the $138 million that the government spends annually on addressing those that this bill particularly aims to address. But most importantly, the social benefits of the Housing Bill balances the initial expenditure and potential inflation that we could expect from this bill. The Housing Bill will give the most vulnerable members of our society, the homeless, somewhere to sleep at night, a chance to improve their own lives. The role of government extends past economic interest when we take into consideration the moral, conscientious improvements to society that we make through this bill. The Housing Bill does present a huge outlay for the government, but the social benefits, coupled with sustainable expenditure reductions, outweigh those costs. As such, we will support the Housing Reformation Bill. Similarly, we find the Male Victims Domestic Violence Bill as a proposal with unheralded social benefits for our society. Providing accessible refuges for male victims of domestic violence not only does the right thing for our society, for our communities, by giving these victims a safe haven, but the bill proposes healthcare savings later on down the track. These refuges are an opportunity to accommodate victims of abuse before it degenerates to a situation of extreme violent injuries, before it spirals into a requirement for intensive psychiatric support, before it becomes a larger burden, not just for the victim, not just for the healthcare system, but for taxpayers across the state. We commend the thoughtful and accurate costings of $74.7 million from the Committee Investigating Family and Communities. We find these as appropriate for this bill, and as such we believe that this bill to be worth funding as well. Another bill that has come to the Treasury's attention is the Unhealthy Fast Foods Tax Bill. Quite simply put, this bill will raise revenue for the government, while reducing the cost of healthcare for New South Wales in the future. The tax will contribute aggregate projected earnings of approximately $5.42 million, raising revenue for supplementary avenues of fiscal policy. Inflation from the tax will also be minimal due to the nature of fast food to be generally inexpensive prior to the imposition of this tax. And as such, the percentage increase in price translates to a fairly subtle, a fairly minuscule monetary increase in the price of those fast food products. Furthermore, this bill will reduce the levels of obesity and the levels of healthcare spending from the government due to the elasticity of the fast food products. Some may stipulate in this chamber that the demand curve for fast food is constant, that it is inelastic. However, in economics, inelasticity only applies for truly addictive products, such as tobacco. Fast food is not in this category. It is not truly addictive. What this means for the government is that fast food is not perfectly inelastic. The demand curve is of a steep gradient. With a change in price, there will be a slight change in consumer behaviour. And because of the widespread,
A steep gradient in Alaska.
severity of the obesity epidemic, even though it is a steep gradient, that slight change will be conducive to a high reduction of healthcare costs. Health problems across our state for adults, for young people, for our children in New South Wales. It will help New South Wales, it will reduce the cost of healthcare, and therefore the tax will be supported by the Treasury. Mr. Speaker, in respect to this budget and the limited resources available for the state, the Aboriginal Affairs Bill and the Transport Bill became a crucial fork in the road as two of the comparably more expensive bills at $130 million and $469 million respectively. We commend the social benefits arising from the Aboriginal Affairs Bill for Indigenous views, but with the reformation of the transport system, we can expect returns in the economy by an increased inefficiency.